Well, good evening. I wanted to give you a second to take a look at what I had posted up there because those are some of the most important. I'm going to use the word asset or mindset or mental thinking for myself. Whoops. Can you hear me now? That I rely on for the issues that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And even just looking forward 2 years down the road. I don't know how I would do it. So I want to make sure that y'all can hear me. So if you can hear me, someone shake your head, jump up and down, give me a thumbs up, whatever works for you. And in the meantime, I'm going to go up to the top of the screen and I'm going to say hello to Richard Hubby, who has been waiting. Well, thank you. He's been in here a couple times telling me a few things, as he sometimes does. We've got Kaylee. Yeah, Kaylee, I have dropped the link. So if Kaylee wanted to just pop into the base, see if you can pop into the basement, first of all, just to do a little test run. And I won't do anything with it. I'll just see what works, if it's working. Making sure I can grab the link, and then my avatar shows instead of yes. I understand. I did a run through with Priscilla earlier today. Okay, other folks will be on the panel, so it won't matter if I haven't figured it out in time. Well, it'll only matter because you have a lot of input, I believe. And so, of course, I don't want you to be on screen in a way that you're not comfortable. But I can tell you, I trust that you have a lot to say, and we'll miss out. So if you see that link, grab it, Kaylee, and you'll be in my basement, and we'll see if we can work something out in there. It's a problem with my browser. StreamYard and Safari don't get along. Is there any possibility of opening up a different browser for this stream? It's just an option. And it can also be done on your phone. So if you have a phone with a camera, it does not have to be on the computer. I've done many a StreamYard from my phone. All right, and there was the link for Kaylee. Hello, Priscilla. So glad you're here. And I keep looking this direction because, as most of you know, my camera's right there. The list of y'all's right here. I do think we're going to have a good topic today. If you've not already been able to give a thumbs up, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. So just to get it done and over with. And if you would like to share this out, hello, Misha Lee. Thank you for coming. If you'd like to share this out to your own social media, I'd be grateful. All right, Red Riding Hood. Red-headed Riding Hood. I always say that wrong. Red-headed Riding Hood. Thank you for coming. You looked absolutely stunning the other day on your live stream, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not just blowing smoke, you know. You looked really beautiful. Really beautiful. So I just wanted to say that. Catherine Cook, hello to you, Catherine. And we've got some chatting, TC. Hi, it's me, Linda. Okay. I can't figure out how to get on my account on this computer. This is my daughter's. Oh, that's too cute. Okay, well, you'll still be able to participate. And you can, like I said, you can also use your phone. Okay, you do not have to, don't have to do the computer. Hellos, Lily Tittle. Well, welcome. So glad you're here. I've missed some of her sister does a live AA meeting on Monday or Tuesdays at 11, right after Roy and Becky, and on Saturday at 11. I'm busy. I've been busy, very busy during those afternoons. All right. So there's a lot to talk about today. Yep, I do. I think it's a great topic. And let me tell you a short story of why we're talking about this today is because my live streams are normally on Thursday, although I'm contemplating moving them. It will depend on actually how this one goes today. So yesterday, I should have gone live. I woke up, and I think everybody here, for the most part, y'all know I have chronic pain related to an extremely seriously bad. Here's camp goer one. All right, you figured that out, got that out. All right, thank you. So y'all know I've got a crumbling spine as we speak. As I say, 12 back surgeries in about 10 years, 11 years. May even be 13, and it's very frightening to think that I have forgotten a back surgery. But there's just been that many. So I have, well, thank you very much. I have many days out of the week, at minimum 2, and sometimes as much as 3 or 4, where I'm literally, and I'm not exaggerating, where I'm in bed for those days. I get up, and I come out and I get something to eat, or I come sit with Richard for a little bit and talk and watch a little bit of TV, but the pain is significant. And it's in my lower back, and it goes down mainly my right leg, sometimes my left leg, but mainly my right. And so it's been a journey to learn how to live with this, and to not just live with it, but find a way to thrive. And went live today with no makeup. You know what, honey? I've done that many times intentionally. I've lain in bed shooting a short or just a little conversation, and I'm wearing no makeup in bed, I can promise you. And as a matter of fact, just as a quick aside, you see this on my face right here? You know what's happened in the last year? Since almost a year and a half, I have had adult old lady acne. I have had excellent skin all my life. I will say there have only been 2 really good parts of me. One of them is my hair, and the other one is my skin. Okay. I don't wear foundation. I haven't worn foundation in decades. And then I got this breakout last year. And I have really bad scarring, like right in here. You can actually see it. I didn't have this trouble as a kid. It's weirdest stuff. And the next time I see my doctor, I'm going to ask for some kind of test because something's wrong. So I did not want to get up and do my my channel yesterday. I couldn't do it. I just could not do it. Which the consequence, and you guys probably can, some of you might be able to, understand. I felt like a piece of crap. I felt like a loser. So here's what my tape says to me. Okay. Everybody's tapes are different. I don't suggest these tapes. I'm simply saying it's a real tape. I have a tape that says you're a loser. You have no business. You have no business doing YouTube, Lucretia. Look at this person and this person and this person, and you started about the same time, and they're flying, they're doing well, which I'm grateful for them. I truly begrudge nothing to nobody. I don't begrudge millionaires, billionaires their money, and I don't begrudge YouTubers their success. I just gauge myself when I'm in that mental kind of, it's like and you all, I talk to you, some of you might have that same kind of, it's like a mental space where it's easy to fall into. And so I thought, there's no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to push forward, and here's what it's going to be on. But I'm sitting in here. My hair was in 400 different directions, although my son-in-law suggested I just go on with that. He liked it. I'm like, Josh, you are a crazy man. He said he'd been accused of that before, so that wasn't the worst thing anybody said about him. And so I said, no, I don't think so. I'm going to put this off, and I'll set something different up. So anyways, hence here we are. Okie doke. So I want you to notice we also are up to 1,534. If you're one of those new subscribers, thank you so much, because it's been a little climb. It's coming. It's moving. I don't know how, but it is happening. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about And I'm going to be looking away a little bit at some notes so that I don't miss certain things that really are important. All right. So I want to share some information about pain, and then I'm going to introduce my first person. Some information I found out today. Okay. I had to fix that. Make sure you're seeing it on the screen. All right, you are seeing it on the screen. Okay. All right, so this is from the CDC. And morbidity and mortality week, blah, blah, blah. Chronic pain among adults, 2019 to 21. I'm going to give you some information, not a bunch of information, but just some. So during 2021, there were an estimated 20.9% of the U.S. Adults. Almost 52 million persons experienced chronic pain. Chronic pain being over 3 months of the same pain that was not fixable. And 6.9% experienced high impact chronic pain. Substantial restriction to daily activities. That's me 100% right there. And likely at least one more of you out there. With a higher prevalence among non-Hispanic Americans, Indians, or Alaskan Native adults. Adults identified as bisexual and adults who were divorced or separated. So, and the implications to public health are extreme. It affects, it says clinicians, practice, health systems, and payers should vigilantly attend to health inequities. So paying attention to that and being very, very clear about it. There is one thing in the discussion I wanted to note. In the discussion, it says chronic pain is a debilitating condition that affects the lives of millions of adults in the United States. During 2021, almost 21% of U.S. adults experienced this. An estimated prevalence high impact was as I just explained, 6.4%, which of the goal set by the Healthy People 2030 objective to reduce the prevalence of high impact chronic pain. So, there are some identified disparities in treatment, chronic pain, and access to affordable, effective pain management care. And I could tell you that here in the Willamette Valley, where I live in Eugene, Oregon, I know people going there's a couple different, there is a couple different philosophies about chronic pain. I know a pain doctor who works with someone and has worked with at least one other person that I know personally and very well, both of them, is that this doctor, who is a pain management doctor, does not believe pain is real. Now, it's not that you don't feel pain. And if you stick yourself with a needle, yes, there's that particular kind of pain. But his philosophy is, and as I've read more about it, I do understand pain is really centralized in the brain. And everybody's perception of pain can be very different, such as in my case. I know that I have a very high amount of pain on a daily basis that I live with. And I know other people that live with pain too, that seems like they might have a less amount of pain, but it hurts them worse. Now, does that mean they're hurting worse? Or, or they have a low tolerance to pain? It could be low tolerance to pain, which is of no fault of their own. The point is that particular doctor is there's a lot of people who don't want to go to him, but I kind of like how he looks at it. Otherwise, there's a lot of problems. Let's see if I had anything else quickly to share on pain before I invite my first guest up. Okay. My first guest, let's see who I've got going on here. I think my first guest I'm going to invite up will be Priscilla. So Priscilla, I'm going to drop a link here in the chat. Okay. And then all you need to do is click on it and do exactly as you did in our dry run through. And then I'm going to, then next I'd like to invite up Linda. I'm going to be inviting up Linda, Camp Goer 1. But just before we have a panel. I've got a panel plan, and I'll be talking with each one of them, and then we'll have a panel to chat with about these things, because everybody's experience is a little different. Medical matters, where your medical care is at. There are areas that don't have as good a medical care. I could tell you,
Alabama.
Hello, Paralife TV, your everyday wheelchair ninja. Woo! Everyday wheelchair ninja. I'm going to be in a wheelchair someday, and so I'm going to be in a wheelchair if I go out any significant distance. Okay. And I have access to electric wheelchair, and I have my walker now that I'm able to use, but I will be in a wheelchair, and I'm coming to terms with it, and I will be fine. All right, Priscilla, I'm going to go ahead and bring you up, and she is behind an avatar screen of choice. Priscilla, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I
can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, and
okay.
That's her. Which kitty cat is this again, Priscilla?
That was Jerry, our little girl.
Oh, cool. Jerry's. Yes, that's Jerry. So that's her avatar. She's a little on the shy side, even though she's my sister. She's my little sister. It's probably why she's
One
shy.
Of us has to be shy. One of us has to be shy.
No, we don't. All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with pain? Have you always had pain your whole entire life?
No. My real pain started in 1999 when a C5-6 disc herniated in my neck, and I had to have a decompression for that. And then I continued to have pain over the years with it, and I had bone spurs that grew. And then in October of 2021, I had to have a C5 cervical fusion. And so I've had that, and I'm still having pain again. It's back. And so I have degenerative disc disease like you do. So the upper level is now collapsing. And I actually see my neurosurgeon next week for that. But I also was diagnosed with fibromyalgia back in 2010 or 11. And so I do have body-wide pain with that I deal with. Although I don't take pain medications. I take ibuprofen. But I try to stay away from narcotic type stuff. I hate it. I don't like the feeling. So
yeah, I don't. Not to mention. So I have access to a narcotic, which I rarely use. As a matter of fact, yesterday was the first time during the day I've used a narcotic medication since my last fusion surgery that failed about 3 years ago. And I knew that. Go ahead.
Our doctor wanted me to come in, make an appointment to come in and get something for pain. And I just said, no, I'm not doing that. That's just, to me, for my problem, I already know what the problem is because my neurosurgeon had that MRI done a year ago.
Uh-huh.
And to me, that's just a Band-Aid, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to let them turn me into a pill addict.
True. We have a sister who passed about 23, 24 years ago.
1999. She died in
1999.
January of 99.
Who
Yeah.
was an extremely bad prescription addict. I'm grateful that she never had access to heroin, because Annette would be a primary candidate.
But there again, she had real pain, and
Yes.
her doctors never sent her for the proper tests to find out what was causing it. So they just, and we got to remember, her started in the 70s or 80s. So
Right.
So they just handed her bottles of pills,
Right.
As a Band-Aid. And also, I'd like to touch on something you said just a little bit ago about the perception of pain. And I know what pain doctor you're talking about. And I mostly agree with him. But I also think that I do know some of what he has to say. It's about the wiring in your brain,
Yes.
and your pain receptors. But when you have something truly physically wrong, that is painful. And I don't care what he says, it's going to hurt. When you have a disc impinging a nerve, or when I broke my leg in 2014, would he tell me that pain was just in my head? I mean, I was having real pain. I broke my freaking leg.
In 3 places, right?
Huh?
In 3 places, correct?
Yeah, my fibula, tibula, and ankle. And you remember my foot was turned, but my leg was straight.
Her foot was turned in a way it has never been meant to be turned. So I think
I kind of take exception with pain doctors trying to dictate. I can take a lot of pain, and I do not take pain medicine.
Right.
And so that wasn't just about I know they say that your pain receptors get rewired when you live with chronic pain, and I believe that to be true for the most part. But I also think that when you have a structural issue in your body, like the discs or like my broken leg, I don't believe that's just because your pain receptors have been, rewired. And so it's like the pain scale at the doctor's office, they say if you're at a 10, if you tell them you're at a 10, but you're able to talk, that you're probably not telling them the truth. I disagree with that. I've had pain at a 10 down my arm, and I can still talk. It hurts, but I do it. So
well, actually, that's true. When I had one of my surgeries, and it was a bigger surgery, and it didn't come out correctly, and
right.
And I was in agony. He did surgery on a Monday, I believe it was. And the pain was so bad. I was hysterical. And I said, I will not live like this. This is not happening. If this is as good as it's going to get, something's wrong. And I just insisted. I said, something is not right about this surgery. I've had lots of surgeries that should not have this level of pain. And they took me back for an MRI the next day. And sure enough, something had slipped. And they took me in the following Saturday to fix it.
Yeah, I remember that. So that wasn't just because your pain receptors in your brain got rewired. You had a real problem causing that extreme pain. And so I kind of get a little bit irritated at these pain doctors and their pain scales. Kelly having both shoulders replaced, he was in a lot of pain.
Yes.
And before the replacement surgeries, I don't think he was taking any pain med. But, he was able to talk, but he was at a 10, so I don't know. I get kind of irritated.
Dr. Yates put me on pain meds before I started the physical therapy.
Oh.
So he had me on pain.
Oh, he did take pain meds for a short time.
But not all. There are pain doctors that do prescribe pain medication. For the first time in my entire life, through all of this pain stuff, I actually asked a doctor, my neuro, what's he called? Dr. Lynn is a physiatrist.
A physiatrist.
Yes, a neurophysiatrist. If he would prescribe me some pain medicine, I said, I have no history of asking for pain medicine, but it had gotten so bad. And he was the one tasked with trying to help me live with my pain. Okay.
Right.
And I was feeling desperation. And
Right.
he no longer, he said, I no longer utilize opiates in my practice.
Well, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I've learned just through Ashley's migraines, or what we thought were just migraines before Dr. Miller figured out she had the crushed occipital nerve. But opiate medication, here's the other thing about opiates that I've learned is that they can have a rebound effect. And so while they may help initially, the longer that you have to take them, the more that your body's going to start having rebound pain that may not even be the real pain itself. Do you see? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand that? So,
yes, I do understand it.
Opiate medication has a place and a time for use, but I don't necessarily always think that it's the thing to use for ongoing chronic pain for the rest of your life. And I'm not saying people shouldn't do that if that's what helps get them through the day. I mean, our dad had to use opiate medication in his later life, and it got him through the day. And I understand that. I guess for my own self, I will do everything I can to avoid having to ever do that, because I think that it can have, like I said, that rebound effect, and it can make you think you're having pain that may not really be there. I guess I want to feel my pain. I want to know it's real. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, it's, these are serious things. I need to explain a couple things to a couple people in my basement. Okay. Alfonso, I'm not having, I have a slate of special guests today, so I'm not going to be having any music. I do know after the people I've got ready to come on and share their story a bit, I'd like that, if there's time left, there's you and Mike Stanley. Actually, I'll go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and bring you up one at a time. Priscilla, do you mind hanging out?
No, I'll do it as long as I can, but I'm having a lot of pain down my arm. I see my neurosurgeon next Wednesday. And I don't know how long I can sit here like this.
Okay. Well, then let me ask you. So, Mike and Alfonso, you're going to have to kind of kick yourselves out of the basement for a while. I'm going to finish up with my guests that I've got scheduled. I'm not trying to be rude at all. I love to hear from each person that has anything to do with any of this going on, but I need to allow the people that have agreed to do a little bit of an interview to do so. So later on, I'll put a link down and you guys are welcome to come back up. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, Priscilla, is I am going to go back to the comments. Can you tell us a little bit why, let me see, let me get back here.
Another thing I'll say too, that you mentioned earlier, affordable care access to affordable care. I think that can be a barrier to helping get real pain relief. I know that if I were a highly trained paid athlete, I probably would have gotten a little bit better, more intensive care in 1999 for my disc and my rehabilitation therapy than what I got.
Sure.
With my own insurance. So I do think that there are different levels of care based on what we can afford. And I don't think that's necessarily fair.
No.
Everybody deserves to get back to the best that they can get back to live their life and be a productive citizen also.
Well, the deal is, just a second, Priscilla. Kaylee is asking, is the link you sent for creating an account or joining the panel? It's only for joining the panel. That's just for joining the panel, Kaylee. Yeah, it's just for joining the panel. So, so what would you say has been? So we both have had similar doctors. So would you say? I mean, in the same healthcare system for the most part, what do you say has been the most difficult part of getting what you need?
Um, not having the money to continue paying for more physical therapy. When you get with our insurance that we've had, when you get to a certain point where they think that you should be better, whether you are or not completely better, you're just done with physical therapy. And so that's been a barrier. If you know, I don't feel like I'm ever going to be back where I used to be pain free with this arm. I don't think that I'm going to get that kind. And I think I have a really, really good neurosurgeon. I think for what my insurance provides, I get the best that can provide for care. But I also think that there is an inequality to what I get versus, let's say, an Oregon Duck football player who might be in the same situation as me. Right. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh no, I know exactly what you're saying. It's true. I mean, so they have right there I guarantee at minimum a CT machine, the Ducks, the football players, and this happens with most football teams. They have an MRI. I believe they also have an MRI machine right there on premises here at home. Right.
And when I broke my leg, once it was healed, remember? And I continued to have that horrible pain when I walked anywhere. And I went back to my orthopedic surgeon several times. He kept shrugging his shoulders, going, nope, shouldn't be having any pain. That's a titanium rod in your leg. Nobody's allergic to titanium, blah, blah, blah. And finally, when I had a job with insurance where I could afford to pay more, I had that rod removed, remember? And I felt the pain was gone. And now I can walk and not have that pain. And we kept the titanium rod. And if I were on here where you could see me, I'd show it to you. It is it's a barbaric looking tool to fix a broken leg.
Well, you're not on video?
No, but like Kelly said, that rod was probably too long for my tibia. And so every time I'd step down, that would hurt inside the leg, inside the tibia bone. But I can guarantee, Nancy call me. I can guarantee you that if I were a Duck football player, they would have been doing everything to find out why that guy was in so much pain after that. And so I'm not saying they aren't worthy of that, and they're athletes, and I'm not them, but I'm a human being and I deserve to have that looked at objectively as well. Yes, my saying true. The ongoing pain should have been looked at objectively instead of this shrugging the shoulders with the big eyes going, nope, shouldn't have any pain. I mean, that's crap.
Yes, it is crap, Scylla. And I disagree. I mean, I agree with you completely because as much as I am probably the #1 Duck fan on the face of the earth. Okay. And if I could sit in the seats, I would go to a Duck football game and lose my voice. I might, lose my mind.
Yeah. I'm not against any of them at all. I'm just saying, just using that as an example as to the ongoing quality of care when you're just a regular citizen and you're not a highly trained athlete and you're going in saying, I'm still having too much pain even to walk through the Walmart.
Yes.
And they won't look at that objectively to find out why I'm still having that pain, So luckily I was able to get that rod removed and I can walk again without that pain. So
right. Well, let me ask you, because I know you can't be up here for much longer because of the current pain situation.
Never ending story.
What do you feel it helps? So we all have something internally we draw on, every one of us. What would you say, and what would you use as a tool on the days that you feel like you cannot do another day like this because there's too many building up? One, and I know this feeling, one after the other, and then that day you go, I just, this is it. I can't do this anymore. And why me? How do you get past that? What's your tool that you go to? Don't say it. Do not say it.
I cry and complain to my husband, and I'm very vocal. I'm very vocal. What sounds like I'm just complaining isn't really just complaining. It's just how I deal with it. And for me, verbalizing how it's feeling helps me deal with that. I don't think I've ever felt like I just can't go on another day. I have said I just can't live this way. It hurts. I've never, but I don't mean I want to die or I'm going to kill myself, because I'm not suicidal.
Right.
I just want them to fix me so that I don't have to live in this pain. But my biggest tool is vocalizing to Kelly quite frequently about how much pain I'm in, and then I take ibuprofen.
Yep.
And then also, I do find that the longer I sit, the worse that it becomes, the pain. Yeah. So I get up and try and move around and do some things. But right now, the cervical problem is causing my bicep in my left arm to get weak. And so, I can't push past that. I just can't.
No.
So
what about mentally? And do you have an internal mechanism that you draw upon?
Well, I mean, not that I think about. I just think that it's just born into us, and watching Dad cope. I cope.
Swear to God, I
cope like Dad did. I cope. I can't say it's an internal anything. I mean, obviously it is. I just don't really know what it is. I just
you just do it.
I just do it. I wash my hair every day.
So, do you have any parting words that you would, offer to someone else trying to get through all of the hurdles and barriers to getting help?
Well, that is a big deal. The barriers are many, and it starts with your primary care physician. But I would just say, don't give up, keep pushing, because oftentimes if they, like my doctor last week, I really believe they just wanted me to stop pushing to go back to my neurosurgeon. And I don't think that it's because they don't want me to see my neurosurgeon. I think insurance has a big part of that. They require certain things that you have to do, like physical therapy. But we already know what's wrong with my neck. And so for me, it's like, I'm not comfortable having physical therapy on something I already know needs surgery. And I don't want surgery either.
And it's a waste of resources.
It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of my time. It's making me stay in this pain longer. And luckily, my neurosurgeon knows the way around all that. Mm-hmm. And they're seeing me for a follow-up to my cervical fusion. And in the process of that appointment is when he'll do an exam and find out that my bicep's weak, and he'll send me for an MRI to find out what more has happened since last year. Yeah. So keep pushing. Don't just stop and give up. You got to keep pushing these doctors, or they will. And I think too, with all of the shortages of medical providers and nurses and assistants, things are being dropped and fall between the cracks. And so it's up to us to make sure we stay on top of our own medical file, so that we can be kind of the backup for the doctors when they're missing something.
Oh, and I have found consistently, here's what I found consistently. And I say consistently because every doctor's office, every physical therapy office, every medical related office that I deal with, whether it's a surgeon's office, whether it is my general practitioner, and she and myself and another sister all have the same general practitioner, which he's a great general practitioner. But the back
I'm not real happy with him right now.
I know you are, but you still love him. The back office staff is questionable. I don't know what's going on, because it's across the board. It's not one or two.
Yeah.
It's every one of them that I've run across in the last couple of years, and it's frightening. So,
And
okay,
there's
go ahead.
there's the hurry, and then there's the hurry up and wait too. Everything
Yes.
is booked out so far. I'm lucky I'm getting to see my doctor next week, my neurosurgeon,
Uh-huh.
because it could be worse. It could be fall before if I were a new patient. So,
Yes. Yes. All
okay.
right. Well, I'm not going to hold you hostage up here. So if you can stay in the chat for a little while, that would be great. Other than that, I will talk to you later, and thank you so much. Now you know you can do this, and we can have other conversations.
Yeah, my voice is getting really husky. Also, I'm a big
know.
ogre. All
A
right,
big
I'll talk to you
ogre.
later.
Right. Bye, Priscilla.
Bye.
Well, that was a fun chat. Yeah, I've been telling her she would, has a lot of information to offer to figure out. Let's figure out how to get her up here. And this worked today. So I'm going to share a little bit more. Then I'm going to invite Kaylee up here, who has found her way into the basement. So this article talks about how pain just isn't one thing. It's a journey, and there's many things involved. Dealing with chronic pain, and we're talking chronic pain, which is over 3 months. And so I think we almost all probably know what chronic pain is, and that it's not just physical. It affects your entire body, and it affects your mind. And anybody who tries to tell you it doesn't affect your emotions is crazy. It affects relationships, mind, emotions, everything. And I know that because I'm married to somebody and we both have chronic pain. And he's still alive and I'm still alive. That matters. Here's some things to remember. This person says they wish they knew before they started this journey that pain isn't always curable. And that was actually something that this pain manager said to somebody while I was present. Pain isn't always curable. There are some things, for whatever the reason, and mine will be one of those cases where the reason they don't want someone to be on regular pain opiate medication is because some pain isn't curable. And unless it's cancer or it's something like that, but some pain isn't curable. And all of my pain will not be curable, and I'm understanding of that. No magic pill. They cannot wave a wand over my spine and make my spine be good. Not all pain means harm. So pain is usually an indicator something is wrong. And it identifies that there's two types of pain. There's acute, oops, I got stabbed with a fork kind of pain. And there's chronic. And chronic pain, we live with. And in many cases, it heals and generally lasts a few months and goes away. Sometimes it doesn't improve much. And even with surgery, it says it changes how nerves in the brain process pain as misfiring nerve signal continues to tell the body it hurts. Misfiring signals. And all of my pain is related to a nerve damage from my back, from all of the surgeries, and the fact that I never thought my neurosurgeon was very legitimate, and he never one time made me believe that I would be pain-free. He did not know. And at times he would tell me, we really talked about, is the potential benefit, the payoff better than the leaving it alone? And on a couple of occasions, he didn't feel it was, and we didn't do the surgery. And the surgery that I need now, my new neurosurgeon, because the one that did all of my other ones, he now has a tremor in his hand and can no longer do surgery. And so he sent me to another one, which in and of itself is amazing because he has a pretty big ego, and he really is it as far as he's concerned. And me too, by the way. I think the same way about him. And the neurosurgeon, the new one I went to see, within a few minutes of him looking at my MRI, I saw panic on the man's face. I mean, panic. And I'm sitting there and he's like panicking. Like, what do I say to this lady? He goes, there's nothing I can do for you. Just like that. There's nothing I can do for you. Shaking his head. Nothing I can do for you. And I said, like, hold on now. And I calm him down. Hold on. Now, hold on. So can you explain to me why? So that's something that you can do with your doctor. Ask your doctor, why can't you help me? What's the situation going on inside of me that you're saying is not fixable? Or is it worth trying to fix, or it's too dangerous to fix? In my case, he said, I would kill you if I tried to do the surgery on you that you need. He explained that. Okay. And so I'm working on what I have to do is get to a certain BMI, and I've made 3 more pounds towards that. And I will be at that BMI in about 20 pounds. So changing thinking, changing life. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are connected. Chronic pain makes it easy to feel distressed, to give up and become a victim. Woe is me, life isn't fair, and other unhelpful thoughts increase one's focus on pain and can make it worse. I know that sounds crazy, but the days that I'm in bed, because I have to be in bed because it's that painful, it is mentally worse for me, and likely it increases the pain. But I feel more hopeless. And it fosters anger, and it fosters resentment in me. I am extremely resentful in those moments. And I just am, because I'm not disabled inside. I'm not in pain inside my soul. And so I'm pissed off that I have a physical situation that causes such pain. All right. And then it talks about, and then to move on. If chronic pain doesn't mean more harm and there aren't any magical medical answers, what's left to do? Accept the pain and the new normal, adapt to it, and learn how to manage it. Of course, that's easier said than done, as they put it, and that's true. So that's pretty important. That's pretty important. All right. I'm going to bring up Kaylee, and I'm also going, Linda, if you want to, I'm going to drop a link for Linda to jump into the basement. And then feel free to go in the basement, and I'll pick you up in a few minutes. I like this basement thing. All right, Kaylee, I can't see anything, but I'm going to assume you're ready to come up on screen. Woo! There you are.
There's my little Luna.
There's Luna. Luna is so sweet. I had a cat that looked like Luna, except it had black, maybe it had white boots. Yes, it had white boots. We call it Boots. His name was Boots. He was black, and it just looked like Luna. I think that's why Luna's so cute to me.
She's a very sweet little girl.
Yes, well, she has a sweet mommy. So you are. Unless you like are very different. I think you're a very sweet person, Kaylee. You're helpful to so many people. So thank you for being here and willing to talk, because not everybody is. I can tell you and promise you, not everybody can do it.
It took me so long to get in there. I don't know what was going on. I still don't know how I got in there. I might be trapped in your basement forever. You'll have to throw some food down once in a while.
I will. Just tell me, do you like heat? Do you like hot food?
No.
Oh, then you are in trouble, because I eat hot food, and I will tame it down for you, dear.
Well, thank you. You could just throw down a rotisserie chicken. I'm a rotisserie chicken kind of girl.
We can do that. All right. So do you want to share with the group about your journey with pain, with disability, whatever you're comfortable with?
There's different kinds. I'll rip through the first one really fast, because that might not be a long-term discussion thing. Mm-hmm. But 18 years ago, without too many details, I was attacked at work, and it broke me. So I've been a shut-in for the most part ever since.
Okay.
I'm trying really hard not to be. There were times when I thought I could get close to it, and other things stopped me. my attorney had told me that going back to school, because I was going to school at the time, so it really wrecked all the parts of my life. The attorney told me that going back to school could be considered my rehab, and he could make them pay for it. Now, paying for it would have been icing on the cake. I didn't really care. The idea of going back, being rehab, was right up my alley because I feel safe in that environment and the whole thing. Well, when I was ready, when I thought I was ready to go back to school, suddenly the story changed, and I still don't know why. Every once in a while I ask, haven't really gotten a real answer, but I need to ask more directly and a little more assertively why. This easy answer I got was, well, if you go back to school, that means you could go back to work. And we all know you can't go back there. If you go to school, they'll drop everything you've got. They'll drop the benefit you're receiving. They'll drop your medical care.
Mm-hmm.
They'll drop your insurance, everything. So I haven't worked that out yet. I need an answer to that. So I have to leave that there. As far as pain goes, that's a lot of pain. And when you were saying about resentment, you bet I do. You bet I do. So the physical pain, most of it is from my stenosing spine.
Mm-hmm.
I worked so hard for those people. I mean, I would have worked hard for anybody. When you accept a job, you accept their terms and conditions, you do the job with a smile on your face, and at any time you don't want to be there anymore, then you can go find another job. But I was working my way through school. I always went above and beyond on the job. I worked all the overtime. I worked all the holidays. That's the way my father raised me. You just do that. What I didn't realize was I was wrecking my body, and I was lifting properly. I was moving properly, the whole 9 yards. And I didn't discover that I had wrecked my back until later. I thought, maybe it's the weight I gained from all the stress and fear, the fear-based depression and whatnot. I was under stress that was not relieved for a long, long period of time. It took about 6 years for it to destroy my thyroid. I had no idea that could even happen, but a number of doctors told me that's what happened. I can't really connect it in my head, but I know stress can kill you. My thyroid quit working. 6 months later, my weight was double. And I thought, it's just because of the weight. Now, I'm not saying the weight doesn't matter. It does. I had been feeling pain in my spine anyway. I thought, that's because I'm sitting still too much. I really have to find a way to get out of this house. Then I experienced some extreme pain in my leg. I told my endocrinologist about it. That's the diabetes doctor. And I asked him, what's up with this? I saw a very good nurse, physician's assistant. She asked me some questions. 2 of them were apparently pertinent, really important. One was, do you have the pain in both legs? And I said, no. She had also asked me, are you experiencing incontinence? And here I am admitting in public that yes, I was.
Mm-hmm.
Not complete, but there's different degrees of that. And she said, it's not your diabetes, it's your back. So I'm flabbergasted, and I'm sitting there. I didn't know what to say. I said, I'm not being rude by not responding. I'm just trying to get my head around this. How do you know it's my back? And she said, well, I'm not that kind of doctor, so I can only say so much. She said, if it was your diabetes, it would be in both legs, and you wouldn't be experiencing the incontinence. So off to a back doctor I went at her insistence. And boy, did they have a long report on my back. It's not funny. So, surgery was recommended. I never got it because I didn't like the company. It was really a big deal over here. Rothman, very big deal. But when I asked for my records, they made me jump through a number of hoops and had to pay for it. And along the way, I discovered that they were, these people were registered under a number of different companies. So the paralegal in me kicked in, and I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. Not that I was planning to sue them. I had nothing to sue them for. I just wanted my records before we moved forward. So I never did get surgery. And then I became worried about, was it really necessary? So it's a double-edged sword. The emotional pain keeps me from leaving the house and getting a competent, and I have to get a different diagnosis or a diagnosis from somebody else, somebody competent, not hiding behind so many. Why are you hiding behind so many companies? What is up with that? So I just want something straightforward. But the pain, I was told that a stenosing spine will only get worse. It will never get better. And the only thing you can do, the only thing surgery will do is hopefully stop it from getting worse. That doesn't seem like a heck of a bargain. The idea of, the idea of getting surgery on my back scares me to death. I had started to line up another doctor in Philadelphia. He was I had asked the nurse next door, who worked over there, you know, who's the best back surgeon? If you had to go, blah, blah, blah. She gave me the name. I called the office. He wasn't there anymore. Little more research. This isn't funny. I have a terrible sense of humor. He left because a patient he had done surgery on died.
Oh.
And he split. I'm thinking, well, if you're a surgeon, things could happen. Not necessarily, you know, there's fault and then there's whatever. But why would he split? I mean, what was it about that surgery that instead of apologizing to the family and reviewing the practice and all these other kind of things, why did he just up and leave? Then I became too terrified to find somebody else. Because if that's the best in my area, everything else is pretty much a crapshoot. I might as well throw darts at a phone book. Yeah, so I'm thinking, I'm trying to balance the pain with the fear. And those days where I'm literally crawling up my stairs because I have to go up and take care of the cats. It's not funny, but, you know, I have to crawl up there. And those are the times when I'm thinking, maybe I should try to find a doctor.
Well, possibly might be an indicator.
Yeah.
Might be an indicator. Might.
And
for some people.
Relatively recently, oh boy, was I in pain, but the kitties were running out of food and my pain was getting worse. I'm like, I have to go get them some food. So I go over to PetSmart. I get them the food. That was, you know, quite the effort. I get home and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to carry this in the house. So I go in the house and I drag out my little hand truck. I'm trying to transfer the food from the car to the hand truck. Yeah, most of it's on there. And when the pain hits, it was like I was doing the funky chicken. Like the pain would hit and my body would twist. So I'm thinking, well, I hope everybody's amused because I don't know what else to say. And I couldn't even die of embarrassment because I had to get the food to the cats. So I try to pull the hand truck. All the food falls off. I involuntarily scream with that surge of pain. I don't know why I'm laughing. The neighbor yells over, the across the street neighbor yells over, "You need any help?" and yeah, the wise guy in me wants to say, "Nah, I got this."
And you
Because,
said
you know,
instead,
I was about ready to crawl on the grass with 2 cans of cat food at a time. But she came over. She loaded up the cat food, brought it up to my porch, and I thanked her very much. And I brought one little tray of cat food in at a time. And what I didn't realize was that medicine my cardiologist told me not to take. I was like, I'm not calling an ambulance. I don't know who to go see about this. I'm going to take that medicine and see what happens. It was just desperation. I think the medicine would have interfered with the heart medicine he's got me on, or would have made my blood too thin. I don't know, but I was willing to roll the dice, and I was ready to call the other neighbor to come take me to a hospital if that was necessary. So shockingly, the medicine reduced the inflammation. I guess that's what was causing the stenosing spine to be squeezed or hit whatever it was hitting, or wherever the swelling was. And by the next day, I was feeling a whole lot better. But I live like that. See, that's not a permanent thing, and I can't do it on a regular basis. I have an appointment coming up with the cardiologist. I've got to talk to him about that. Where's the middle ground? What can I do? I can ask him for a reference to a back surgeon that isn't less likely to kill me.
right? Less likely.
Yeah, I would recommend to everybody get a will, and have your will in place, because at times like that, I'm laying there worrying about it. Gosh darn it, I should have done my will. Because if this is going to kill me, what a mess! What a mess! I mean, my estate is not complicated. Not really. Well, okay, it's more than it's more than a very simple estate, but I own the house in fee simple. I'm the only owner. Nobody's got a lien against it, and all this other hoo-ha. It's not going to give anybody a stroke trying to figure it out. But you need to name the people you want to handle that business.
Yes.
And it seems to me that on my TSP account, there might be an ex-boyfriend from 30 years ago whose name is a beneficiary, and I will not die and let that happen.
Better get that fixed.
Oh, I got to get that fixed, because just the thought of that could kill me. So there's no way. He was a stalker. He was a dangerous dude, and yeah, that was quite the thing. So yeah, between the pain the back pain that apparently I'm going to feel forever. And what struck me was when you said, you're not in pain in your soul. And for the most part, I'm not either. I mean, there's the work thing, and I'm trying to separate it. I can still laugh. I still love my cats. I still want to garden. There are things I still want to do, and that came after many years of therapy. Wanting to live, wanting to continue, not only dragging myself through a day because I won't abandon my cats, which I have to tell you, that's the center of my universe. That's the way it is for me.
Sure. Well, let me ask you about that. So what is it, do you think you have internally that keeps moving you forward? Because certainly animals, our pets are absolutely paramount for those of us who are like, I don't have one personally right now. My little patty cake passed a few months back, and we've got Czar, but Czar's really my son's. And so we don't have a dog ourselves right now. But animals are one element. Is there, what would you say for you is another maybe internal or an external element that keeps moving you forward to drag yourself across the lawn with 2 cans of cat food?
Well, I always, it's kind of a joke and kind of not, but I say on my worst days, I breathe just for spite,
Mhm.
because those people who hurt me, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of dying.
Yeah.
You know, I'm waiting. I just, I'm kind of committed to not dying until they die. Well, I mean, I want to be around for my cats. I will not leave them, not under any circumstances. And far as I know, 2 of those people have died already. I had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
But
You were here at the time, I know.
yeah, yeah, there we go. And I wouldn't, because I can't be going to jail either. That's still leaving the cats. I can't do it. But you know,
Yep.
if they were to, you know, and I can't, you know, I'm still the same person I was for the most part. It has changed parts of me where, you know, we're not supposed to pray for something bad to happen to somebody else.
Right.
But I'm not embarrassed to admit that I hope they all go. I hope they go painfully. You know, the whole thing. I just hope they suffer really, really bad and then die before I do, because I need to win this one. And so that's, I know that sounds terrible. And they're
Well,
the
you
only
know,
I think that of, really.
you actually, okay, this may not make sense to you, sweetheart, but you already won because you are a better human being than they are. Now that doesn't help, and I understand that because I've lived through some things, and so I understand some of what you're talking about. And but let me just say, you will, no matter what day is your last day, things will be taken care of somehow. Everything will be okay for your cats if they're still here. But no matter what, you are a better human than they were.
I try to keep being that way. And I don't want to make it sound like every day, even when I'm in pain and crawling up the stairs, I don't mean to make it sound like I dwell on that every day. I don't. Every once in a while, it'll occur to me, and then I try to find something else to think about, because I just can't live in that space. That is nowhere to live.
Mm-hmm. No,
So
it's not, because
and it makes me
it's
feel
more
great
of
to
a
help.
system. Go ahead.
It makes me feel great to try and help other people. I can't help as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes if you just say one little thing to somebody, you know, that like they're inexperienced at something, and I just happen to know about that, then I'll volunteer that information. Or somebody's looking to try something, or somebody's very, very depressed. I've helped with that a little bit. I tell them it's, you know, I'm afraid you're thinking of going this way. Can I please assure you that it is not worth it? You know, the suicide route, it is just, and I tell them, and I've told doctors this too. They ask, you know, if you're extremely depressed, they'll ask you, they'll try to figure out suicidality in your case.
Yeah.
And I've told them, listen, that's not how it's going to be. You know, once I realized that was a back door. The thing about the back door is, if you know where the back door is, you don't have to go through it. You can wait till tomorrow. Wait, maybe tomorrow's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe tomorrow's going to be better.
Right.
And I've told the doctors, I don't think you should worry about that. You know, I don't know whether you can take my word for the idea that I'm not suicidal. The way I feel about it is, very few people actually want to die. They just want to stop hurting, because the hurting feels intractable and like it'll never stop. And they don't know how to get out of it. And everything they've tried has failed. So, just my opinion, not a doctor, you should concentrate on treating those people, helping them find another way out, actively helping them find a different way out. So that was my take on that. And yeah, so the pain in the back, yeah, I kind of resent it, because it's hard. My father taught me to do a lot of things. So I was well equipped for home ownership. I don't have, so now it's a double-edged sword where I physically can't do a lot of those things. And I don't have any money to pay somebody. And when I borrow the money or can get the money to pay somebody to do some work, it is really hard to pay somebody else to do something you know how to do.
Yeah.
And you would rather do yourself just for the satisfaction or the connection with my father or whatever. And, and when you're trying to set up a contract with people, being a woman, not having a man standing beside me, I've run into some trouble with contractors. Trying to get through this one quick. My house, there was a cold snap and high winds one year. My pipes froze. The house flooded. Of course, it was on the second floor, so everything got destroyed, including the brand new 3/4 inch solid, 3.5 inch wide hardwood. Oh boy, yeah, all that brand new drywall, the brand new insulation. Oh, it just, made me twist. When I was trying to find people to fix it, the insurance said I was entitled to what I already had. And luckily I knew what I already had. So when I was telling the contractors, some of them looked at me sideways and I said, I just happen to know because that's, who I am and the kind of home ownership I put forth. So a number of them walked away. And then, I got into further conversations with other contractors. We got further along in the contract process. And one of the biggest things I remember is that, when you have the wood, when the wood is coming to be delivered, tell the driver not to unload until I go out there and see the wood. I want to make sure it's select or better. That's a quality term as far as the wood goes. Yeah, he walked away too.
I bet he did.
How dare this woman? They were trying to scam. You deliver a crappy quality wood, charge me for the high quality wood. And that considering the whole house had to be done, that's a lot of money. And so I would imagine that many men could have that conversation, wind up with the wood they were paying for and entitled to, according to insurance. So yeah, that's one of the things that you face. And I couldn't put all that wood down myself. I couldn't do it. It was just bending over, kneeling over, trying to do a project on the floor. Within minutes, the back hurts. I can't paint a ceiling anymore. Raising my head above long enough to roll paint, I can't do it. And without the money, so I'm just sitting here. The house is still broken. And it's a survival technique that I can compensate and I can keep retreating and still survive. Those are the walls I built up. Now, sometimes the walls you build up aren't doing you any good because this should be, I should be screaming in my head. This is completely unacceptable, but I don't know who to scream that to. I don't know how to fix this. It's a big catch-22. So I sit in my house with my pain, and you guys help me every day. Every day. When I get a chance to help somebody out, cheer somebody up, laugh out loud because it's a funny conversation, watch you head south for a bunch of miles and then turn left to get the court site. All this.
It made sense to me.
It just, you were absolutely right. You head south and you turn left. If you look at a map, that's exactly what happens.
I don't even need a map to do that, by the way.
No,
Don't
you
need
just go on
nothing
the
but
highway heading south, and when you hit, Los Angeles, I guess it was, okay, we got to go left, and
find a left-hand lane to get in, and so we can move headed east. That's all I needed to know is get to LA, somewhere around LA, and go left. Man,
and
how hard can that be?
Oh boy. But to,
I
to be
know.
engaged, in that conversation. And we were all terribly worried, and we were trying not to laugh our butts off with that. I mean, it's only funny after the fact because we were so afraid for you. And when you were going up the hill and and the rig was overheating, and then we were worried about Richard because he's outside of the rig in the traffic trying to figure this out. These are the things that connect me with people. You guys connect me. So I can't give you, this is how I resolved my pain situation. I'm still in that catch-22 head swirling mix. I'm not sure how to get out of it since the heart thing started. I like the cardiologist. Maybe he's got some suggestions. It's weird, how you meet somebody and you kind of immediately trust them. I don't recommend that all the time, by the way.
No.
I trust to the extent of my ability to leave.
Really, your feet are still working.
Yeah. If I can get out of the room or the situation, I can afford to have a conversation that's that feels trusting, and I check and recheck what folks say. You can check to see if a doctor's been if his license has ever been suspended, if he's ever been
right.
What is that, sanctioned for anything he's done, that sort of thing. So you want him with a good record, you want the good reports. And this guy I lucked out with because people were telling me, oh, there's nothing wrong with your heart. And the first test he had, he did, there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm looking at him like, it's not possible. So he did a different test. And that's the doctor that called me, and the first thing out of his mouth was, I'm sorry. And I'm in my head, I'm like, oh shit, I should have got a will.
There's still time, you're alive, for gosh sakes.
Oops. And then I figured, I should definitely get a will. And I wanted to know, well, how much time do I have? There's a lawyer right down the street. And I'm sure he can make up at least a makeshift will.
You got at least 15 minutes, no doubt. I think the lawyers can work fast with that.
Oh yeah, they can just, adjust a few things in a standard contract and then print that puppy out and have their secretaries witness it. Because I've pretty much got in my head, I've got somebody to take the cats. I've got 2 different people who can do that. Not that I want that to happen, but there it is. And one person who, possibly 2, who knows, they're not lawyers, but they know how to get around, not get around, but make these things happen. And they're rule followers and they're conscientious and all that kind of stuff. So all I have to know for a lawyer is, what do I have? Who do I want it to go to? And who do I want directing that business there? So I've been telling people, get a will for decades. And why I still don't have one, I finally realized that people don't want to think about their own mortality, when I never thought that would bother me. We're all going to die. I'm going to die. I don't know when or what I'm going to die of. When I was in that ambulance and I had to take my shirt off and there's 4 men standing there, I was pretty sure I was going to die of embarrassment. But I didn't.
We can do more than what we think we can do. usually when it comes to trying to figure out medical stuff. I'm terrified. I'm extremely claustrophobic. Yeah, that shouldn't shock anybody. I mean, it's a control issue deep inside, but it's beyond comprehension. And I have now had so many MRIs that I can think myself through without, because I've had to take them where had to take so much anti-anxiety medicine that I was out cold. I mean, almost out cold, because the terror I feel when something gets control of me physically. And I know where that comes from. I understand that. And I used to not be able to think myself through it. No, self-talk. But I am now able. No, thank you. That is warm a little bit. It needs ice. Richard just tried giving me a half drink, warmish Coke. Was there one, or it doesn't have sugar in it? It's a Diet Coke. Anyways, I do not know if I don't even like sodas that much. And if I do have some occasionally, I like it cold. Anyways, it's what we tell ourselves about things that's the real problem. Like when I'm laying there telling myself, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. You're going to be somebody, this is going to happen. It's going to catch fire. They're not going to get you out of here, and you are going to die. Very ugly death.
My goodness. When I'm not that claustrophobic. I am mildly so. I can't wear a shirt that doesn't have a zipper that I can zip off. I have to be able to, like, a sweatshirt or a turtleneck or anything like that. But when they put me in the tube for the MRI or whatever, I decided, okay, I'm not going to tell them I'm claustrophobic. I'm just going to lay here and I'm going to think myself through this. But what I did was I listened very carefully to what they were telling me, the standard instructions.
Yes.
You're going to go in here. If there's a problem, say so, but don't move. I'm glad they warned me there were going to be loud noises because dang.
It's loud.
Yeah, and it's if a loud noise pops up, I might be able to pretty much stay still, but that initial bang is going to make me jump.
Yes, absolutely. And
So
I just found out some news.
What's that?
I'm going to just call them back roads. Just informed me diet soda's worse than regular. Who knew? I didn't. Well, he did, obviously, but not me. I don't drink it much. Like I said, I'm not a soda drinker, but once in a while, a little bit. So let me ask you a couple of things, Kaylee. You've lived through a lot. You've lived through a lot of emotional turmoil. You've lived through a lot of physical turmoil. Is there something you grasp onto that says that you listen to, or you feel, or you go to and say, I'm going to need some assistance here because this all is a little too much? Is there something you could suggest to anybody on here who might be feeling like that, especially the emotional stuff that you've went through, as you put it, the attack?
I don't know that a doctor or a counselor would agree with what I would say. To a stranger, I might say, tell somebody. I would ask them some questions. Are you on really good terms with your family doctor? If you are, say so. Tell them. But you have to be careful because some people, some professions, they're obligated to report certain things.
Yes.
And I would tell them that your doctor is probably obligated to do something about that, and you could wind up in a hospital on an involuntary hold.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to want to discuss that, and you're going to want to be ready for it. Be calm. It almost happened to me once, but in a whole different situation. I won't bother you with that one. That was that particular counselor was fired. It's not funny.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, she had called because, and I never saw. All I said was, I was the newest one in the group. It was for people who had lost their spouses. For me, it was my fiance
Mhm.
to a same disease, so that we were all on sort of the same page, but at different places on the journey. She went around and said, what do you see yourself doing in the next, it was a time period, a year. Where do you see yourself from a year from now? And I was the newest one. I was only 2 months out from George dying. And the other ladies had a couple of years under their belts, and they had, I think that all of them had kids.
Uh-huh.
So for me, you know, that would have been a reason to, I was unable to have children. So that's a whole big thing. But I said to her, I didn't know. I said, I'm in the process of fixing his house so I can, you know, sell it, and his sister's getting the money. So I don't really know beyond that. And because I said I didn't know, I couldn't see what was going to happen beyond selling the house. She, without my knowledge or permission, she said she was going to the bathroom. Well, she called the police. Well, I had to have a long conversation with the cop. He called the hospital. He said, I'll tell you what, instead of putting you in a cop car and bringing you to a hospital, I said, I have no intention of committing suicide. I just don't see my future. Is there something so wrong with that? You know, I have to figure it out. I have to work it out. He only died 2 months ago. What am I supposed to do other than what I'm doing right now? I talked to the person at the, they said, he said, I'm going to connect you with intake at the hospital. So I talked with this young lady. If she was 20, I'd be surprised. Here I am, a grown woman talking to a kid.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I don't see any reason, you know, we talked for a while. I said, she said, I don't really see a reason why you need to come in. And then she and the officer talked, and it was on speakerphone. And the cop apologized up, down, and over. And he said, he asked me if I wanted to press charges against the counselor. And at the time, all I wanted to do was get home and lock my door. I wanted to be in a place where I could defend myself physically and probably not go to jail for it. That's in New Jersey, you never know, man.
Really? Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, even if the blood splatters on the inside of the door, you got some splaining to do. And you know, you don't know if you're going to wind up. Oh boy, it's tough over here. So, you know, he apologized. I didn't press charges. I probably should have, because the thing I should have been thinking, if I had been able to get that far past my fear, was I should, because she's going to do this to somebody else. And somebody else might not have the wherewithal. I had paralegal training. I was wearing a suit. Why does it matter? Trust me, it matters. Oh my goodness, does it matter? If I had been wearing just regular jeans and a sweatshirt, I'd have been in the back of that cop car. It matters. It matters. It shouldn't, but it does.
Yeah.
And this is the same lady. And I even told the cop, I said, this is the same lady who asked the group if we'd ever seen ghosts of our loved ones. Turns out she had lost 2 sons.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she sees the ghosts, and she talks to the ghosts, and we're all looking at each other like, well, maybe she does. We're not going to say, but she was trying really hard to get us to say that we did.
Right.
And nobody fessed up to it.
Well, and maybe it's real for her, and it would be totally unfair to expect people to say something is real for them when it's not.
Yeah, I wasn't going to join in just because I felt bad for her, but she, it turns out, it's not funny. When I called the executive director of Samaritan, I told her what had happened, and I told her about the ghost story, and I could just hear her smacking the desk. Gosh darn it. we keep telling her not to talk about the ghosts. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So you knew this lady was kind of off her rocker, or at least not fit
no.
a thing like this. And you let this happen, and it happened to me because you let her stay. I'm going to have to think long and hard about this. And I'm sure that they were worried, whatever it was I was going to do. I never did anything that was probably wrong, but it added to the terror of me leaving, not being able to leave the house.
Mhm.
I was beyond scared. I thought somebody was going to change their mind. The police were going to show up at my door. What was I going to tell them? I wasn't going to leave the house. Are they going to push their way in?
Right.
All these things go through your head, and it's like, at what point, what do I do to defend myself from police when I'd be taken out of my home on false pretenses? You even look at a cop sideways, and you're spending some time behind, locked bars. Yeah. And
Here in Oregon, that is not what's happening. But that's a different story. I'm not going into today. But
it's just, I don't understand people. Sometimes you have to be kind. You have to be sympathetic. You have to be empathetic. You have to find out, if you're going to take an action that is essentially against somebody's will,
Mhm.
you've got to make darn sure you've got a good reason.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what would I tell people? I would tell people, do you have a trusted friend who isn't going to turn around and call an ambulance on you? I mean, if you're holding a knife at your wrist and telling them you want to die, they got to do something. And if it includes calling officials, you can't blame them for that.
Right.
But if you just want to talk, if you just want to talk to somebody and tell them, I feel so bad, I'm desperate for this pain to end, I don't know how to make it stop. I've tried a few things, it won't stop. And I've actually kind of sort of thought maybe living is too hard. You really have to have somebody that you trust. It could still go sideways, but you want to have somebody that you can trust. Anybody in an official capacity, a doctor, a lawyer, anybody like that, a teacher, they have an obligation to report. So I'm not sure what to say. I can't tell somebody not to tell somebody, because that could result in their death. You've already come to the point where you can't figure out how to get out of your mess. And I don't mean mess like you created it. I mean, you can't seem to get away from this pain. I would tell them, you have to tell a trusted person.
Yes.
That you think can handle it, because some people just can't handle it at all.
True.
Tell them if somebody's telling you this, tell them, look, I want you to talk to me. And you talk to them for hours. You just let it, even if you have to be up for 3 days in a row, which is not a good idea. Keep feeding them water. Keep giving them water. Really, seriously, keep getting them. Make sure they stay hydrated. Get them healthy to eat, just in small quantities. Tell me about it. What is exactly hurting you? And if you have answers for them, make some suggestions. Offer to walk through it with them. You've got to be a strong person to do that. And you can't abandon them. You've got to walk with them.
No.
Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it's all it takes is for somebody to look them in the eye and tell them, I'm not going to leave you. I want to hear what you have to say. What kind of pain are you in? When does it hurt you most? Why do you think you can't get through it without something drastic? And then I feel confident enough in myself that I can look at somebody and say, I'll just hold them by the shoulders and say, I am absolutely sure that you can get through this. I am absolutely sure that I can find a way to help you. We can work together and get you out of there. And then I would say, what I believe is that, how about this? I think you don't really actually want to die. I think you're hurting so bad and you're in a panic and you can't see any other way. You want the pain to stop right now because you're afraid if it gets any worse, it'll kill you. I promise you it won't.
Mhm.
I promise it will not kill you if you just breathe. That's another thing, breathing. They're probably close to hyperventilation. They're probably taking very short breaths at that point, even if they're not looking like they're, trying too hard to breathe. Try and do a breathing exercise with them. You know, the one where you inhale slowly and to the count of 5, then
Yep.
you hold it to the count of 5, then you release it to the count of 5. 3 or
5,
4
5,
of those. Yeah, get some oxygen in their brain, get some water in their body. If they're okay to walk without, you really have to be in tune and know them a little bit to figure, can they take a walk in fresh air?
Here's something so when before I pull camp goers ready to come up here, but I want to share, you're making some excellent points about that. And I had a suicidal ideation class with a psychiatrist. I'm going to bring you up, Linda, and I'll finish the story. Well, you'll be there. So a psychiatrist that was somebody has on YouTube. If you have on YouTube, Linda, check to see if there's a YouTube on.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. Let's see here. See if I can see.
Let's see if it's got it. Nope.
Hold on a second.
Oh, I've lost her. What I was going to say, I'm sure she'll be back. So what this doctor who was a psychiatrist in town who worked specifically with suicidal ideation, and he had a special calling from it because he had been for years suicidal, but not in what terms you and I think of, normal, traditional suicide. He was someone who had been, the problem had been he was an extreme risk taker, and not within the bounds of risk taking. He went outside the bounds of accepted safety zones, safety nets. I'll use the word safety net for lack of the proper phrase for his suicidal behavior. And he said it wasn't like he intentionally planned to die, but he was putting himself intentionally in a position to die. And so that was, he said, and to be aware that the people that really intend on doing it and that are going to do it, you will not ever be able to stop. They will do it.
That's absolutely true.
Yes, most people don't want to. And he said, like you said, most people are simply reaching out for help. They don't want to hurt anymore. But he said, though, and I have an adult nephew, his name is Jim, and beautiful man. He would be the kind of guy that walked into the room, all the girls loved. He lit up the room. He was bigger than life. And he one day, his mom and dad, one of my sisters and her husband, their granddaughter that they were raising for a daughter, were going to meet him at him and his fiance's house for steak dinner. She talked to him at let's say 5:30. 8 minutes later, they were at their house and he had committed suicide. And she had just talked to him 8 minutes. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. And he made the choice. And there was nothing there. Well, let me finish this. There was nothing in his tone of voice. He was happy. They were grilling steak. Everything was wonderful. And he made the decision to hang himself. And that's where my brother-in-law found it. So, and it just took me back to when the psychiatrist said, you won't stop people that's actually their intention. So
No, you won't. If
great point.
if you're very closely connected with somebody who's feeling like never say, oh, they're just reaching out for help, because that's kind of an insult. They really believe that the only answer is to die. But if you're connected closely with somebody, or know those feelings, here's the thing: you got to watch for a sudden change in behavior. If they are suddenly calm and happy, and it's not in tune with what you know of their recent past, they may have already made up their mind, and they've got peace from that. They've got peace knowing that very soon it's not going to hurt anymore.
Right.
There's a time to intervene. There's absolutely a time to intervene. And I don't mean like, get 45 people over there and force them to have a meeting. I mean, like, if you're not physically with them, get physically with them and say, as fast as you can, say, hey, I wouldn't even put it into the idea that I'm coming over to help you. I would say, because a lot of people, they'll feel good about taking a break from their sadness to help others. I need help with something, and make it something that they're really good at. Can I come over just for a few minutes?
Mhm.
And then pass over there as fast as you can, and talk to them and say, okay, well, it's this and that, and let them take a break from their stuff to tell you, something about what you brought over, and then say, listen, I noticed a change in your tone, and then start talking about that. I'm a little worried. I'm a little bit worried that you may have gave up on trying a different, trying something to get loose, and now you just want to, loose from your hurt. And I'm afraid you may have already made a decision that's kind of final, and I don't want you to go. I really don't. Please stay. I'm begging you to stay. Sometimes people need to hear that. Please don't leave me. I'm begging you.
That you want them. I just had to I kicked somebody out of my basement that I don't know at all, and so I can't remember even what the name was. So if you're a legit person, I'm so sorry for that. I've never seen you. I don't know. I think it was Stanley or something like that. But anyways, that's why I had to. I don't know you, and I have another person that I have scheduled to chat with us for a few minutes here. Linda from Capcor One, but Kaylee, thank you so much for all you shared. It's deeply appreciated, and you were pretty disclosing at a level I was not. I thought you would be, but thank you so much.
If anything, I'm sorry I was a little bit all over the place. If anything I ever say to anybody at any time helps them with anything, then my existence is worth it. And that was it looks like Mario Music was causing trouble, and Backroads whacked them. So thanks, Backroads.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So Linda, thank you for being patient and waiting with us.
My butt hurts.
Your butt hurts. Trust me, I understand. I understand a little bit about that. Well, so we've talked a little bit about, aging. We haven't got into the aging much, but I'm aging, and pain and disability, and some of the issues related to that. Is there anything? So, what would you add to the conversation?
Well, everyone experiences different levels of pain, and for myself, at a young age, I had gotten scoliosis, and I wore a Milwaukee back brace. I don't really tell everybody all this. I don't know if you've ever seen me in my videos, but my back is like really straight, so I can't like really bend. My back doesn't really bend because I wore the back brace from my time I was 16 till I was 21, and it went from here to my hips down around my pelvis. And yeah, that was really uncomfortable. But I lived with that from the time I was 16 till I was 21. And as I grew older, where my spine finally like stopped growing, I could stop wearing the back brace. But I had to wear it for like from the time I was 16. I had to wear it 23 hours a day. And then after so long, then they let me to take it off for like 3 hours a day, and then 4 hours a day, and then 8 hours a day. And then just to wear it at nighttime. Since having kids, it kind of like throws your spine off a little bit, being pregnant and stuff like that.
I bet.
And so, yeah, I've got degenerative discs in the top part of my spine, and then in the thoracic area, in the middle part. And so, I don't have a lot of pain, but I do, I do a lot of stretches and stuff like that. And when I was working in pace management, with close the door, please, close the door. I was doing a lot of computer work and stuff, and I would always have constant pain because I'd be, like this leaning forward, and you get that lean, and it like it stiffens up after a while. And I was taking a lot of Furnal with codeine to keep it from hurting so bad. And then, before I lost my job, I was assaulted at my job by two coworkers, and I had what they call radiolopathy, where you get pain from up in your neck down, it shoots down your arm, and gets your fingernail tingly. I had that, and I was in physical therapy for, almost a year. And they gave me some different creams and stuff like that to rub on my upper here. And they wanted to give me, I forget what they called, but they're kind of like injections. But I was like, it was too invasive. It made me too nervous, because when you're dealing with workers' comp doctors, it's they don't care. They don't care about your health. They don't care about nothing. I actually, the doctor actually hit me, with the reflex mallet that they do for your knees. He hit me in the back of my neck with one of those. You don't have a reflex in the back of your neck. I'm like, and he's like, oh, that didn't hurt. I was like, the hell if it didn't hurt. I was really getting pissed, And so anyhow, I had to go down to get an x-ray. And when he's seen the x-ray, you could tell by the look on his face. I could read his face. He's like, oh, shit. Yeah. And so, but yeah, I mean, I don't, since I've not been working and stuff, I don't take the Furnal like I used to. I do a lot of, like, if I wake up and it's I feel really stiff and achy, I'll just get in the hot shower and stuff like that, or I'll take a Tylenol if it's too much. Or I've got this little Homedics type of like a massager I put up at the top, and I just hold it there in certain areas, and it kind of loosens up the muscles a little bit. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if it gets really bad, I'll go to physical therapy, because I really don't believe in chiropractors. I know several people that they've twisted them the wrong way, and they had some pain, really bad pain after that, So I would rather do the physical therapy route of it. But as far as, I mean, physical pain can really cause mental yes. pain as well. And sometimes mental pain is worse than the physical pain. But when you got both of them, you're not doing too good, And right now I got a lot of stress with my neighbors and stuff, which makes me highly susceptible to having other things occur. I mean, you're the only one I've told besides my friend Jim, but I was recently diagnosed with an aneurysm in my aorta, which is the big valve that curves around your heart there, like a 3.6 centimeter, and makes me kind of nervous. I've got a couple of lung nodules, but I live in the Southwest, so that's kind of common. But the stress level and blood pressure issues, since I had COVID, my what is it? The diastolic, the lower number, the resting heart rate has been higher. And I mean, I'm on the same blood pressure medicine as I was forever, but I know that we were talking about thyroid issues and stuff earlier today when we were on the phone. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that, there are other options other than the man-made synthetic medications. Right. I've taken the thyroid medicine since I was 25. When I got pregnant with my son, I had gotten a hypothyroid, and I was on that levothyroxine for years, until about 4 years ago. And I was always kind of like overweight and tired, and I just wasn't feeling right. And then, like I was telling you before, my lady friend that I knew since I was 17 and just passed away a few years back, but she was like 90 something years old, and she told me about the natural thyroid, the porcine thyroid from the pig. And I don't know, maybe a lot of people don't know about it, but the pig's anatomy is the closest to the human anatomy. And you can get like the MP thyroid, the Armour thyroid, the Nature thyroid. I think there's another one too. I can't think of it right off the top of my head. But anyhow, I started taking that. I went to that endocrinologist, and she tried to put me back on the levothyroxine, which I was like, no, I'm not taking that no more. I'm done. I want the other. Well, like I was telling you today, she neglected to call the script in. So I marched right over to her office, and I told her, I said, I paid you cash. I want my cash back because you didn't even call in the script. I was mad, And
Yeah.
so she did, give me my money back, but I went to somebody else and I got what I needed and stuff. But, it's so important to have a doctor that you can talk to and that's going to listen to you. I mean, I have a really good doctor. She's from Poland, and anything I ask for, she will do for me, and I don't have a big medical background, but when I was in college, I did, have anatomy and physiology and medical terminology, and all the prescriptions that, these doctors push on people, they get a kickback from the companies and stuff, to push the medication. So, but anyhow, so I mostly try to do the natural route, and, with that, I take the NP thyroid, and then I also take, because I researched about what can help with a ascending aorta, which is basically an aneurysm, where it stretches out, balloons out too far.
Right.
And the stress can make it burst, So I was looking into that and found that the lysine and vitamin C together, because the vitamin C breaks the barrier for the lysine to go into your system. And so I've been taking that every day. But yeah, as far as pain and stuff like that, I guess I'm pretty fortunate. I mean, other than, I had bone spurs in my feet, but I think it started giving me problems when I was walking on the hard tile floor, because I have all tile floors in my house in Phoenix. Yeah, and then when I stopped doing that, when I would wear those Crocs, those squishy kind of Crocs, that seemed to go away. And I had a couple of those steroid shots to help that, but I didn't want to take too much steroid, so I just stopped wearing socks on the floor, But yeah, I mean, as far as as my aches and pains, I'm, I guess I'm more fortunate than other people my age. I mean, I'll be 64 in August, and like yesterday, I fell. I was out in the yard with my handyman guy that was helping me with the lights, because I had my lights in my floodlights around my house shorted out, and I didn't see because I've got these block, kind of like they go around your plants, but they're blocks, And I didn't see it, and I tripped, fell and skinned my knee. I was like, oh shit, yeah. I was embarrassed, more than anything, but I just kind of rolled with it, and I was lucky I didn't really hurt myself. But I know that when I was when I was younger and I was wearing my back brace, the doctor, the spine doctor, told my parents, they said to get her a membership at a place that I could go swimming, because they say that swimming, because it's good for your back, it strengthens your muscles, which support your spine and everything. They wanted me to do a lot of swimming, and that's supposed to help, because it's sometimes, I mean, and it's different when you got a pinched nerve or, like a, stenosis, it pinches a nerve. And, like I said, everybody's situations are different, but with the degenerative disc that I have, I know that if I take a hot shower, and I do, my massager on me, and I move and I stretch and I do like this and go like this, just kind of loosen things up. It does help, because I'm not one to really. I mean, when I was working, it was different because it was really, really painful. I was sitting at the computer, leaning forward. When your head leans forward, it gives you that dowager's hump in the back. And they used to tell me, even when I had the back brace, I had to do exercises. They say to tilt your chin in like this and hold it as far as you can, and that like strengthens it. And then to do pelvic tilts, because that helps straighten it and move it back and forth. I don't know what it's supposed to, how it does with everything, but I mean, I know with my scoliosis, because it was still growing, and until I stopped growing, it was an issue whether it was going to get more curvature and stuff. But yeah, I mean, everyone's pain is different. Working as a mental health case manager, I had a lot of clients that had a lot of emotional pain and along with physical pain, and and a lot of times these doctors, they just really go crazy with the medications. I had one client, she was on Depakote, and she had a lot of pain here and there. Well, she took the Depakote, and then she was going crazy, doing stuff that normally a person wouldn't do. And, I, being her case manager, and, I had a lot of communication with the prescribers and stuff. And I mentioned, even, I said, well, I don't, for some reason, I just don't think that it's her so much that's off balance, so to speak. I think it's the Depakote doing it to her, because, if you don't got an imbalance and you're taking something for an imbalance that you don't have, you're going to have some big issues, but yeah, I mean, everybody's different. And, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, I was going to mention to Kaylee, you talked about writing a will. Okay. When I went through, you guys got to go out of here. Let's go on, Brielle. Goodbye. When I had the situation with my mom and dad, I was the only kid, and my dad told me before he died, he's like, Lynn, he says, I told your mom no will. And I'm like, what? He says, no will. And I was like, why? And he says, because wills can be altered and changed. Lawyers can finagle that. And my mom's family they were just bloodsuckers. They tried to just rip everything from me. And I was the only one, My aunt went behind my back and got a lawyer and just did a bunch of stuff, got a durable power of attorney over my mom. And it was a nightmare. It was a real nightmare. And, but anyhow, but a deed that you have to your house now, okay, what I've learned is that when you have a house in your name, and say that, you don't, say if you don't have a really big estate, but you have a home or you have a little bit of money in the bank, because typically if your estate is under 50,000, you don't have to go with the probate. The probate is waived. So anyhow, so when I was in Wisconsin last summer, when I went, my daughter and I went up to there and piddled around for the month or so, I went to the courthouse and I thought, well, I'll just do a deed that I could put it in my kids' names if something happens to me. Well, the girl that was at the thing, I think she was like one of the higher ups at the register of deeds. She said, well, you did a quick claim deed. She goes, you don't want to give it to them now, do you? And I said, no. I said, if I croak, I said, then have it in their name, She says, what you need is a deed that's called an upon death deed. Okay. So you have to look it up. Every state's different. Arizona has it. Like even with my house here in Arizona, I have it in my son's name as well as my name, so that, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know what I'm saying? It goes right into my son's name. My house in Wisconsin, I've got it in my name, but upon death, it's already in my daughter, my youngest daughter, and my son's name. Because my daughter Sierra is on disability, so she's on SSI, so she can only have 3,000. Otherwise, they're going to stop their benefits. Her benefits. My son, on the other hand, he's on SSDI, so he's already paid into the system, so it doesn't affect him. But the upon death deed is the best way that you can alleviate any probate actions at all. I mean, I always say, if you're going to give something to somebody, just do it while you can, and if you can kind of cut corners and alleviate probate, because for every what do we call it, every estate that goes through probate, you have to pay probate a certain portion of that. I think it's 3%. Yeah. So, and it gets ugly, when people die. I mean, if I didn't have my friend Dick with me at the time, I would have had a nervous breakdown, because it was just so entirely bad. And my mom had 2 strokes, and she was deemed incompetent by 2 different doctors at the point in time. And my aunt hired a lawyer. Well, my aunt married into money, so she was able to get a lawyer to do whatever she wanted. And so, by law, she's not the next of kin. I was, and the lawyer gave my aunt the durable power of attorney, so she had every say so that was going on with my mom's health care and stuff like that. But things like that are so important, because if you don't have advanced directives, like I used to do advanced directives for my clients when I worked at the clinic, and this kind of like gets that person in place in case something does happen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of important. And I'm hoping that when I do die, I'm going to be in my sleep. my cousin went in his sleep, but he was only 44 years old, and it was really unexpected, I mean, and heart conditions run on my mom and dad, or my mom's side of the family, and cancer's on my dad's side. So you just don't know what way you're going to go, I mean, but like I said, everybody handles pain differently. And, sometimes it's easier to think out of the box than it is traditional. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah, 2 years. I mean, they can drag it out for a long time, And so, in the state of Wisconsin, you have, I think it's 9 months. Everything has to be pushed through probate in Wisconsin at 9 months. But yeah, but getting back to the health situation and stuff like that, I like the natural route. I like the supplements and all this and that. If anyone that's here, in Arizona, if you're ever, going from Quartzsite to Phoenix, in Goodyear, off of Estrella Parkway, off the Highway 10, south of the 10, so you get off Estrella Parkway and go south. There is a place there that he has his own pharmacy. It's called Key Pharmacy, and he sells just a plethora of all different kinds of great supplements. And a few years before I got my thyroid medication changed, I met him because they had a shortage of the thyroid medicine at the time, of the porcine thyroid, which is the pig thyroid. And so I met this compounding pharmacist that, he bought a whole bunch of it before they had the shortage, and so he could compound it. So, but yeah, he's got all kinds of good supplements. So, I mean, the Western medicine, that's why insurance companies don't pay for any kind of supplements, because there are all types of natural stuff that are remedies that these drug companies make, but so I think, thinking outside of the box, like with me, when I first started changing the thyroid medicine, I told the pharmacist, and, my mom always taught me, she says, if you have something wrong, and, you want to get, a doctor prescribes you a prescription, she says, you don't ask a doctor. Doctors they're not educated in prescription. The only education that they have is by the drug reps. That's it. the pharmacists are the ones that go to school for 8 years. You know, they're the ones that know the drugs, you know? So I always had that in the back of my mind because I was just like, you know, because even like one time I knew this lady when I was doing the trap neuter program, and I was volunteering to take the cats and stuff in for trap and neuter. I met this lady, and she had a very, very bad staph infection. I mean, it was everywhere. It was in her scalp, in her body, everywhere. And I took her into the ER and I said, hey, I said, why don't you put her on some Zyvox? And the doctor literally looked at me and he said, what is Zyvox? And I looked at him, I said, you know what? Maybe you should ask Dr. Google, you know? And he just looked at me and I said, no, it's right next to vancomycin. You know, vancomycin's the strongest, drug besides besides the Zyvox, you know. But and how I know this is because when I had a dermoid cyst on my left ovary and I had a laparoscopic surgery, and like probably a week later I had gotten a sore on my leg. Well, staph is very highly contagious. I mean, it was like this far from the incision site, so it was just about like that. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor says to me, I said to her, I said, what is this? I said, is it a spider bite or what? And she says, I don't know. You're going to have to go to your doctor. Now, you mean to tell me that a surgeon doesn't know what a staph infection is?
Yeah, that's worrisome.
Yeah, she knew, but she didn't want to say, it was an unsterile procedure. You know what I'm saying? So finally, I had went to an infectious disease doctor, and then, but it got to the point where it was so rampant that not only did I get it, all my kids got it. And I don't know if you know, do you know, what the heck is his name? Traveling Timothy or Tim Painter? Have you ever seen his videos?
I don't know. I don't.
Okay.
It's not sounding familiar.
Okay. Well, anyhow, I was telling him, I said, when you go to California and you go to all these different places, because he lives in Colorado and he travels around and stuff. And I'm not trying to give out his medical information because he's said this on his YouTube channel too. So, and he's talked about my helping him and stuff with that. But he was saying that he had a sore on his backside. And I said, you have a sore on your backside? I said, well, what happened? He said, I don't know. He says, but it's just getting bigger and bigger, and it's sore and tender and red. And I said, take a picture of it. I want to see it, I mean, I didn't even really know the guy, but he's like, okay, so he sent me the picture. I was like, oh, I'm like, Tim, you have a staph infection. He's like, what? I said, I said, were you in one of the hot springs, or did you, did you go to a gym or something like that? Because a lot of people that have staph, they can get very, very sick, with a hospital strain of staph, let alone a community strain of staph, because there's two different strains. And yeah, he had a staph infection. So, he went to the doctor, and I told him, I said, make sure that if you ever every time somebody goes in for surgery, now you have to remember, when you go into the hospital, you think the hospital is clean? No. I have literally, even with my dogs, because I do the dog thing, and I have cats and do rescue and all that. If I go and have a surgery, or if I have my dogs go into a surgery, or anybody that has a heart condition, okay, before you have surgery, you always need to see if you can get a prophylactic antibiotic prior to your surgery. Because what happens is, if you get a bacteria in your system from a dirty tool, or somebody touches you, because all these doctors, they have staph, and it's carried in the nasal carriage. So when they touch their face or whatever, if they don't wash their hands or put the gloves on, and then they touch you, okay, you can get it, But anyhow, so, I mean, that's just a thing, like even with spinal surgery or any kind of surgery, you always want to have an antibiotic prior to. And a lot of people will say, oh, you don't need it and this and that. Well, if you got a heart condition, you better have it. And especially like dental work, when I had problems with my tooth last October when I came back from Wisconsin, oh my God, I was in such pain, and I was taking all kinds of narcotics. The doctor was giving me stuff, and I was taking all different stuff, and my blood pressure was too high, and they wouldn't pull it. So
Oh.
from October until like February, I was on antibiotics, and then in December I had gotten pneumonia, and I had 2 rounds of azithromycin, and that didn't work. And then I remembered, because I called my doctor, because it wasn't going away, and I was using my nebulizer and stuff. And then I was coughing and coughing and coughing. And they say when you have an aneurysm too, that's not good, because it puts stress on that
Yeah.
aorta, the aneurysm.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So finally I thought, I had that amoxicillin. So I took the amoxicillin, and that's what finally kicked it out, was the amoxicillin, because I was really bad. I had a lot of congestion and stuff in both lungs. And I went and had a chest x-ray, or maybe I even had a CT scan, and that's when they noticed the lung nodules in my chest. But that was back in December. And then since December, I had another CT scan. And since December, because they didn't say nothing on my test results, but I had the CT scan just recently, about a month and a half ago. That's when they noticed, and it said in the report that I had the aneurysm. So I was like, oh, now what,
So if you ask them, how is it just not big enough that it's a concern, or they just were going to keep a watch on that? Because an aortic aneurysm is like one of the most dangerous things I've ever known to be in existence.
It's fatal if it bursts. It's fatal.
Exactly. Didn't want to say that to you, but
I know. I'm a researcher.
I know.
I know. I've read it all and stuff. I just need to have a lower stress load, and that's the problem right now. I've got neighbors from hell. I've had my handyman put up cameras because they keep throwing their basketball against my RV, and I'm waiting for the window to break or to dent, and then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be this crazy woman that's going to be on the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, I hear you loud.
I don't want to do that, and I'm trying so hard right now. I've got a lot of stuff, and I just paid the handy guy $400 and something about a month and a half ago to fix my plumbing, because I had a plumbing leak. And then I had to give him $150 yesterday, and I still owe him $150 because he did a few things for me, putting the camera up and taking all the other the floodlights down, because they weren't put up right and they were not grounded. So they started arcing, and they all shorted out. So I said, just take them off, and we'll box them up. That's it, So he capped the wires and stuck them in there and capped it up, and that's it. That's that. But I'm trying to get my house ready to get sold, because I got to get out of here. I can't do Phoenix anymore. I'm trying to look, maybe like in Prescott Valley or somewhere. I don't know. I'm ready to call Caravan Carolyn and ask her how much she paid for her lands and go through the
yeah.
Because I'm just, because she was on today, and I was talking to her.
I love that area where she's at, where Camper Van Kevin's at. I love that Concho area.
Yeah. It's, and it's not that far from town. My friend Sue Kelly, she lived in Shello. She lived in a school bus. She raised 5 kids in a school bus, in a big, big, long schoolie. And she just passed away in December. I think she broke her hip, and I don't know, but she was young. She was only like 51, maybe, something like that. And I still can't get over the fact that she's gone. But I know Mike is up there. Mike, he's got that Cheap Off-Grid Living or something channel.
Oh, I do know who he is.
Yeah,
Yes.
the dog named Sober. Yeah, he's up there too, and Eric is up there. But yeah, there's all kinds of land up there that's pretty good price and stuff. But it does get cold in the wintertime.
I saw, but see, now I love snow. I want to, before, since we've been now, I guarantee we're well over 2 hours. So let me share a piece of information with both of you ladies. You're two smart ladies, and anybody in the chat who wants to talk about this real quickly. Whoopsie. I don't want to invite a guest. I just want to share some information. All right. It is. Ooh, there we go. Now, Diana Nyad, the toughest athlete in the world, is a 62-year-old woman September of 2023 and 2013, at the age of 64, Diana Nyad became the first person to swim from Cuba to Florida without the aid of a shark cage, swimming 111 miles in 53 hours from Havana to Key West. She is
Wow.
considered the greatest long-distance swimmer, open water achievements, including record-breaking swims around Manhattan. For the next 35 years, Diana Nyad was a prominent sports broadcaster, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so at 64, she made it from Havana to, to Florida. So what do you guys, I'm curious, what do you think that only certain people will have that, whatever it is inside them to be able to do that? Or could anybody who puts themselves in that position, okay, do you see what I'm saying? Do you have to be born with it? Or can you put yourself in that situation? Let's say you're born with crappy genes, not super strong, but you start doing the things it takes. Is it nature versus nurture? Which would you guys say? 64 is, that's 111 miles in open ocean.
Yeah, I would say it's nature, because either you were born with those good genes to be able to do something like that, because you can, it just depends on a lot of things, how strong you are mentally, I think too. She had to have really strong mental capacity to be able to do that, because your mind wanders, but she sounds to me like she was so focused to do it that she was determined.
Well, she was a trained athlete, obviously. That's what she's done, as long as it's swimming. But 111 miles, in my ignorant opinion, because I used to be an athlete as a young woman. I was an excellent athlete, and I think about who I was then and who I am now. Obviously physically I'm like a whole different human being, but I worked very hard. I remember how hard I worked to get what I got. But mentally, you got to have strength. What do you think, Kaylee?
I think that you definitely have to be driven, whether it's that it was your makeup from birth, that's who you are, who you were nurtured to be, what you committed yourself to. It could also be something that happened to you. It's pinball. You might have, we're all pinballs. So we bounced off of certain things, and it changes our trajectory in life. What we can hope for is that our trajectory is for the good, to further ourselves in whatever it is, education or helping people, whatever it is we desire. Sometimes when you hit one of those bumpers, your trajectory changes, and it's not necessarily for the good. Maybe we can turn it into good. Maybe some things that happened to me changed my trajectory, and that way I was able to do things I wasn't able to do before. So I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm sorry.
No, people can push themselves. One time, Richard and I were, I just muted you simply because there was feedback there. Richard and I had went hunting, I would say many, many years ago. I'm 61. It's probably been since I was in my mid 30s. So, we're talking probably 30 years ago. And we went, it wasn't really steep. We went in, and I got us lost because I would not trust that I believed we'd only crossed one creek. Richard tried telling me we crossed two. It was just how it was, the valley we were in was laid out. And so we were lost. And now, great, we were in a place that eventually what we had to do, Richard tried going on his own. He tried going out. He was going to go find the way out. because I wasn't in great condition, but I was in enough that I could walk. You know, I wasn't like this at all. Okay. So I could still walk. So he told me just to sit down there. He left the gun with me and said, just sit here and I'll go find a way out of here for us. And I just kept yelling his name, just making sure he was within distance of hearing me. And I could hear him. And he's, well, I guess if there was any deer left in this neighborhood, they're all gone. So doesn't matter. Yeah. And so what we ended up having to do, I could not allow him to leave that far from me. I was too scared to be alone, even with the gun. And so we climbed out. It was literally it was pretty much straight up and down. And by the time we got but I felt desperate. Okay. I felt that sense of life and death, desperation. And I was just pushing and pushing, and I used my legs, and I did, and clawing at the damn side of the mountain, to get up there. And finally we hit the top, and there was a road, and pretty soon these guys in a truck came along and they gave us a ride to where our car was. It's just around. I mean, it's a big canyon, but it's just a round area. And if we'd come up on any side, we'd have hit a road like we did. But it felt like we were destined to die in that canyon if we did not get out of there. And trust me, I'm very good under pressure, but I have an extreme interest in staying alive. My last story is we were in East Central Oregon, down by the Steens Mountains, and we had a 2-wheel drive Toyota truck. My sister and her hubby were in a 4-wheel drive Toyota truck behind us, and they wanted to take us to a lookout tower. I've never been to a lookout tower before. Someone should have warned me what that means. And we climbed what felt like so straight up. And we're in front, and I can see they're laughing behind us. I am screaming things out that window that people anywhere in Central Oregon were not happy to hear, but they were laughing at the people behind me. But I was halfway out the window. So I was leaning. Richard's side was the side that was the canyon drop off, and we're talking, and the gravel is just kicking up. He's fine. He was fine. I was literally at my waist level, hanging out the window, screaming. Brent was 4 years old. And the exact words out of my mouth were, "I hate you, Stuart and Patty," which she was supposed to be on here today. And then I shared a few other thoughts with him. I said, "We're going to die. We're going to die. Who's going to raise Brent? Who's going to raise Brent?" And, yeah, and we got to the top, and I explained how I felt to them if they didn't already know. And then I walked down. I wasn't getting in a vehicle with anybody. No, thank you. I don't trust my life. There's nobody but my dad. Do I trust my life in their hands? So I've been in that place where I've thought I could die. I'm going to die. So anyways, all right, you guys. Well, Linda and Linda.
So let me ask you, when you were in that canyon, did you feel like the mountain lion was going to come around the corner at any moment?
Yes, I did. I thought a mountain lion or a bear. My fear is always a bear, but a mountain lion is worse. Mountain lion is worse. So,
yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts before we go?
Never go hiking without a weapon.
That's right. I would not. Trust me. Never, ever, ever. Kaylee?
I would say don't start thinking about death right away and stay calm. Just sit there and think, okay, what am I doing that's not helping? What can I do to help? Worrying about, oh my God, I'm going to die. Well, you don't want it to become a self-fulfilling prophecy, so you got to find something else to do.
I'm calling Kaylee the next time I'm trapped in a canyon. And the next time I'm taking a PLB, personal locator beacon. That way they can find my dead body much easier. All right. I'm going to drop you guys.
Know about those. Something you should know about those.
Yes.
True. You're on the hook for it. Insurance probably won't pay for it. It could be tens of thousands of dollars.
I know it has to be a true emergency. I wouldn't use it if it weren't a true emergency. But thank you, ladies. And I'm going to drop you down. And I appreciate you guys spending so much time with me today.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Louise.
All
Thanks.
right. Have a good evening. And I'm really thankful y'all hung out for this long. I'm a little surprised. There's still 6. Yay! Touchdown! Touchdown! All right. So I now have my son-in-law brought me this this little treat right here for a successful stream, and it has crunchy stuff in it, and that's always good. And right before my stream, I had my dinner, which was some refried beans with salsa in them, and I had a spicy this southern stuff. So anyways, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna head into my bedroom now because I am starting to hurt. But you guys, thank you so much for staying. And Fairy Dust, I know you're going to be traveling if you're not traveling already. And be good to yourselves. You guys, you be very careful. Whenever you are started traveling, and with any luck, we're going to meet. My goal is having my RV here. It should have been here yesterday, but it's not. But it's in process of coming. It will be here shortly. We've got it. We've got the area it's going to live again already. Richard has worked his butt off to do it, and we're ready to do something. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you again shortly next week. And if we have an update on the RV, you will be the first to know. And I'm excited. If it's not clear, I am excited. So thank you so much. Figure out what your passion is. I have found out nobody else is going to do that for me. Figure out what it is, and then you figure out a way to make it happen. Make it happen. Why not? What's to lose? Bye-bye.